Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's been really cold, so we haven't been able to do much work outside with the RCs, so I decided to get some done inside on the Huina 1580 RC Excavator. I put a poll up for everyone to guess what we were doing, and 25% of you got it right. Today we're upgrading the slewing motor, which is the motor that turns the main slewing gear, or if you're not familiar, turns the body of the excavator. If you've been watching the channel, you've probably noticed the slow decline of the slewing motor to the point where it can barely turn with a full bucket even on flat ground.
It's like it's going downhill and I can't even do it.
It's been a bit of a bummer and has slowed work on the job site way down. I do a quick test putting my finger against the bucket, and it's so weak now that it can't even turn the tracks on this flat, smooth countertop. So in this video, we're fixing it. I've got the replacement motor, which I spent over $100 to get here to the United States, shipped from Spain. The excavator was surprisingly easy to take apart. It had 6 screws on the bottom. All of them came out to take the motor cover off. Once you get it off, there are 2 more screws to take the cab out, which lifts out easily. The plastic insert for the cockpit is not attached, so be careful here. I unplugged the wire for the cab and set it aside to get it out of the way. This black wire I believe is the antenna, and this black box is a slewing motor we're replacing, but to get to it we need to take off the entire main arm assembly. In an effort to be as careful as I could, I unplug all the wires, which are color-coded to their plugs, which is a nice forethought. This green plug housing came off the motherboard, but it slipped back on easily. The main arm comes off with 6 total screws, and the white plastic gearbox comes with it as one big piece. I set that aside so we can finally get a good look at the slewing motor and how it's mounted. It's secured with 2 screws and a plug, and once they're removed, it pops right off. Finally, what y'all been waiting for. Here's the motor I bought from magomhrc.com. It is titled the Huina 580 Geared Box for Turning. There's a link in the description for you to check it out if you want to. I realized after I ordered it that it was designed for the previous 1580 model version, but I'm happily surprised that the motor slots in nicely in this version as well. At first I struggled to get it just right, and I was worried that the gear wouldn't mesh far enough down with the main gear, but after a little wiggling and turning, it slips right into the mounting studs and is secured down with 2 screws. I did not have to grind any parts or paint off to get it to fit nicely, even though I was prepared with a Dremel tool to get it done. Next was wiring it all back together. I took a minute to mark the diode with a Sharpie to make sure I have the wiring direction correctly once I take it off. Then I desolder both the connecting wires and the diodes so I can reuse them on the new motor. I put the diode on first while being very aware of which direction it was on the previous motor and being very careful not to put it on backwards. Next came the power wires. Unfortunately, they were about an inch too short, so I had to extend them a bit. Not a big deal, I soldered some extra wire to each end and put on some heat shrink to cover it up. This made them long enough to reach the terminals on the motor. I finished soldering the wires to the motor, and I had to test it out to make sure it worked. It totally works, so we're in the clear. Before I put it all back together, I get out the hot glue to put a little buffer between the diode and the motor. I was worried that it might bend over time and short itself out. Might never happen, but a simple addition like this gives me some peace of mind. While I'm putting this thing back together, hit that subscribe button and drop a like for the YouTube algorithm. Before I put it fully back together, I tested all the functions to make sure I hadn't missed something or broken anything. Thankfully I hadn't, so now it was just putting all the parts back together. The most challenging parts being the cab and the plastic insert for the command center and the main arm's wiring harness. There's a gasket around it. I'm not sure exactly how it was supposed to fit, but I got it on well enough and called it a job well done. Once I had that in place, it was just a few screws to get everything back together. Now that it's fully assembled, I do the same test. I put my finger against the bucket and turn. It now has plenty of power to turn the tracks. Now we'll take it outside and see what it can do. With the old motor, if the bucket was even slightly touching the dirt, it wouldn't turn at all. Now I can easily level out piles of dirt. This will make smoothing out mounds of material much easier in the future. Hey, Editor Steven here. I didn't get a chance to test the excavator for a few days after actually doing the upgrade, and as you can tell, it is much stronger than the previous motor. The only thing I noticed is that the controls are now backwards, which either means I wired the motor backwards or the wires are colored incorrectly from the factory. Either way, if you're attempting this upgrade, make sure you think about what direction the motor is turning when you wire it up. If you want to pick up this upgrade, check out the link in the description. Not affiliated or anything, it's just a solid upgrade. If you like DIY projects like this, you'll probably like this video where I'm testing out some upgrades to my 3D printed trommel screener, and it really starts to come together.